Welcome to the Five Tool Baseball Network podcast. I am Ryan Schlesinger here, joined alongside Samuel Levine and Jake Morgenstein. And today we are going to be previewing the most enticing division in baseball, in our opinions. It is the NL East. All three of us are fans of NL East teams. And I'm a Marlins fan, Jake is a Mets fan, and Samuel is a Phillies fan. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to do this a little bit differently. I will start off by previewing my favorite team, the Miami Marlins. Then Samuel will preview his favorite team, the Phillies, and then Jake will do the Mets. And then after that, we'll each do a short preview of both the Nationals and the Braves. Then we'll do some award picks, Cy Young, MVP, all the usual stuff. And then we'll do a quick draft after that. So I guess I'll actually do the Marlins last. So I'll go to you, Samuel. You can do the Phillies.
All right, I'll go first with my favorite team, the Philadelphia Phillies. I live less than 10 miles from the stadium. So for the Phillies, we've got a good team returning this year. We've made three straight years we've made a playoff run. One of those was successful. One of those you could say was successful. The other one, not so successful last year with the loss to Jake's Mets. But we've got a lot of the same core returning. Carlos Estevez is one of the big pieces that we lost. But this year, you've still got you guys in a rotation at least. Wheeler, Sanchez, Suarez, Nola, all of them are returning. And we made a trade with the Miami Marlins to get Jesus Luzardo. He's going to be our fifth starter instead of Taijuan Walker. I am so grateful that we have a good fifth starter now. You've still got the same core hitting-wise. Realmuto, Harper, Turner, all of them. Stott, Bohm, Marsh, Castellanos. It's just about everyone. And the big guy I want to see this year, young prospect Andrew Painter, top 20 for MLB. I believe so. And he's got a chance to break into the rotation if anyone gets injured or break into the bullpen. So that's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing this year. But it's a lot of the same team. So we'll be good.
All right, Jake, now for you at the Mets.
Yeah, the New York Mets are one of the most exciting teams in baseball, especially after what they did last year with the oh my god. But now they added Juan Soto this offseason. And then you also have in the rotation, they added Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, who was a former closer and relief pitcher for the New York Yankees, now pitching as in the starter spot for the Mets. But some injuries did hit the Mets in spring training. Frankie Montas is shut down for multiple months, and Sean Manaea will start the season on the IL. More from the bats, though, is the big key piece is center field, where the Mets have a huge question mark in that center field spot. They're most likely going to platoon Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor. Siri, a top defender in baseball, has arguably the best arm in the league. And Taylor, he played very well last year, had a lot of good hits in clutch situations. And then for the DH spot, it's going to be platooned by trade deadline acquisition Jesse Winker and Starling Marte, who has been on the team for multiple years. It'll be his last year as a Met as he signed a 4-year contract in 2021. Second base, there's a good chance that Luis Angel Acuna will miss the opening day roster and start the season in AAA, with Jeff McNeil being the everyday second baseman for around the first half month to month of the season. And they also added to the bullpen this offseason with key lefty AJ Minter coming over from the rival Braves, and they will have Dendiel Nunez coming back from injury as he was shut down in September of last year, who was a rookie, a great standout arm for the Mets. So that is your Mets preview.
All right, next we have the Marlins, who I think are the most disrespected team in baseball right now. Yes, they're going to finish last place in this division, but they are nowhere near the level of bad that the Rockies and White Sox are at right now. That's not saying a ton, but still a very solid team, very solid young core. In my opinion, you have like maybe up to six guys, maybe even seven, who will have an OPS plus over 100 this year. You have good fielders on the team like Nick Fortes behind the plate. You have Otto Lopez, who was snubbed from being even a Gold Glove finalist at second base last year. Just a lot of under the radar young players. and they'll probably lose 100 games or at least 95 this year. But the farm system went from arguably being the dead last worst farm system in Major League Baseball to a mid-tier farm system that was ranked, I believe, 15th by Pipeline, and I believe Baseball America and Fangraphs had the Marlins farm system right outside the top 10. So that's really impressive on Peter Bendix's part. In 1 year, without any star players to trade away, he took this farm system up half the list, and now, assuming that Sandy gets traded at the deadline just a moment, we should get one, maybe even two blue chip prospects in return. Maybe the Rangers make a bid for him with Sebastian Walcott. Maybe we could get Marcelo Mayer from the Boston Red Sox. We'll see what happens with that. But once we get some prospects in return for Sandy, Peter Bendix has another draft where this time he has the 8th overall pick rather than the 16th. This farm system is going to be easily a top 10 farm system in baseball, and probably by then a borderline top 5 farm system in baseball. I love what Peter Bendix has done with the development and with the baseball analytics team. Their department has pretty much tripled in size, and he cleaned house almost entirely with scouting and development in that department. And then now, of course, you have Sandy Alcantara, who's coming off Tommy John surgery, but he's looked completely fine. I expect him to be right back into his regular Cy Young form. He's touched 100 multiple times this year in spring training. He's sitting upper 98 to low 99 on his fastball, and he's added a new pitch grip on his slider. That's looked to be his put-away pitch this year. So I think Sandy should get an absolute haul at the deadline, and I have no issue with trading him as long as you get a good package. You get multiple top 30 prospects in baseball, including one top 15 to 10 prospect in baseball. Because you also got to remember, Sandy's on the most team-friendly contract in baseball, 5 years for $55 million. He still has another year left on that contract after this upcoming season. And then last but not least, I'll just take a moment to talk about Yuri Perez, and then I'll talk about the bullpen after that. But second to last, Yuri Perez, who will probably be coming back after the All-Star break. He also underwent Tommy John surgery last year, but he was an absolute stud in his rookie year, the former Marlins #1 overall prospect. And I'd expect him to have at least a sub-4 coming back from Tommy John. The expectations aren't super high. He'll be on innings limits, but 2026 should really be his year to finally break out in a full season without super strict restraints on his innings. And then the bullpen, which I really like, a lot of underrated arms in there. You have Calvin Fauché, who has the best stuff plus in baseball. Jesus Tinoco was really good in the second half of last year after being a waiver claim from the Rangers, I believe. Anthony Bender looked really solid last year. He gets a ton of ground balls. Another guy who also gets a ton of ground balls is Andrew Nardi. I know he's a little bit behind and off schedule due to some injury problems, but he should be back in June or May. And then you have some more underrated pieces of that bullpen, like Declan Cronin, who barely gives up any hard hit balls and home runs. You have Lake Bakar, just a lot of underrated pieces. So I'm excited to see what this bullpen can do. And I think 2026 is the Marlins' year to win at least 80 games. And in 2027, there'll be real threats to make some noise in this division. All right. So now we're just going to do a quick preview of both the Nats and the Braves. So I'll go to you, Samuel, since you haven't gone in a while. Just talk about the Braves for a second.
All right, the Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to take up too much of the time this time, but I actually really am a fan of the Atlanta Braves team this year. Not them themselves, but the team. The Atlanta Braves, I see a lot of depth with this team. Like, the lineup is really good in my eyes. You got, to start with the rotation, though, Sale, Strider, who's comes back from injury, and Reynaldo Lopez, all great pitchers so far. And Spencer Schwellenbach could have a breakout year this year. I wouldn't be surprised if later in the show someone picks Spencer Schwellenbach to be their breakout pitcher. Raisel Iglesias is their closer in the bullpen. Big fan of him as well. He's a model of consistency over the last 3 years. He's going to be a reliable closer for them in this year. For the lineup, I'm going to turn it over to someone else, whoever that may be.
Yeah, all right. I'll go here to talk about the Braves lineup real quick, and then you can talk about the team as a whole, Jake. I honestly don't know what to make of their lineup. a lot of guys are coming off down years and injuries. You have Matt
Yeah.
Olson, who was very good last year, but overall maybe just a good but not great hitter for first baseman standards and for his career norms. He did not hit 40 home runs last year. And I feel like to be a superstar caliber player at first base with pretty much no other real skill set, you have to hit 40 homers in that hitter-friendly ballpark too on a team that relies on you as their cleanup hitter or 3-bat, and he just wasn't able to do that last year. So I'm hoping he could do what he did in 2023 because we know he's capable of that. I still think he is very much capable of doing that. But Ozzie Albies coming off a down year too. I know he's had a little bit of injury issues. Austin Riley was still good last year, but maybe a little bit below career norms. Michael Harris has looked very inconsistent, but we know he has a ceiling of being one of the best 5-tool players in the league. He's a great base runner, great fielder in center field. He just had to figure it out completely at the plate. Just a 99 OPS plus for him last season. And overall, I'm just disappointed with what they did this offseason because outside of adding Jurickson Profar, which I think was a really good add, they did absolutely nothing to improve this offense. And I think a lot of players are trending in the wrong direction. You look at a guy like Sean Murphy, and he was great in 2023. He's a decent defender, but last year he just completely fell off. I know he had injury issues, but that doesn't fully excuse having a sub 200 batting average and 76 OPS plus in 264 plate appearances last year. Like, it's just guys like that who concern me because they haven't fully been able to return to their career norms. And I'm just not completely confident in their offense. I think if I had to bet on one offense in this division, I'll get to more of this later, to live up to the expectations this year, it would probably be the Mets and then the Phillies and then the Braves at the 3. Honestly, I'd consider putting the Nationals as a more reliable offense than the Braves. But yeah, Jake, I'll go to you.
Yeah, the Atlanta Braves, they did add Jurickson Profar. They didn't really do much else, though, in this offseason. Chris Sale is aging. Spencer Strider's coming off of Tommy John. And overall, this team was really, really injured last year. Sean Murphy is going to be out to start the season as well. And overall, this Braves team, they have potential. Their ceiling is very high. 100 plus is their ceiling, but I feel like the floor is a little low. It's closer to that 85, 84, 86 win mark for their floor. This Braves team has talent stacked all around it, though. Matt Olson has a chance to hit 40 home runs this year. We never know what Acuna could do, even though he is coming off of 2 ACL tears. And just the Braves are an overall team that you'd think that would be a chance to make a push with the Dodgers to try and make the World Series and even win it this year. But you could also think that this team could miss the postseason with how good the National League got and how little they did this offseason.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And I just wanted to take a second to mention their farm system, because it is probably a bottom 5 farm system in baseball. And you look at like guys who can possibly come up this year and make an impact outside of Drake Baldwin, who will probably be on the opening day roster as either their starting or backup catcher. They don't really have anything in their farm system. I mean, you have Nacho Alvarez, but he hasn't really been putting up super great numbers in the minor leagues. They just don't have a ton going for them farm system wise. And this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like in 2 to 3 years, maybe 4, we might see this team start to rebuild or at least retool, because their development and farm system has not been very effective ever since, their old guys graduated, like Acuna, like Riley, like Albies. I will give them credit because they have developed a ton of homegrown talent, Spencer Strider being a more recent example, but they haven't been able to repeat that. So I'm a little bit concerned about the direction that this Braves team is trending in. But now let's go to our last team preview of the division, and that is the Washington Nationals. I'll go to you first, Jake.
Yeah, looking at this Washington Nationals team, it's not strong overall, but they do have young talent, and the young talent can translate to good baseball in the next couple of years. It's led by stars James Wood and Dylan Cruz, who were both rookies last season. And the pitching side, they have Mackenzie Gore, who came over in the Juan Soto deal with the Nats in 2022. And then They also have shortstop C.J. Abrams, who came in the same Soto deal. This team overall has good potential for the future. There's not much going for them this season. They're most likely going to finish in fourth place, only ahead of the Miami Marlins. But overall, the Nationals, they have a good farm system. They have good talent, and I expect them to win just shy or a tiny bit above 70 games this year.
All right, Samuel.
Just shy. That's interesting. I'm personally a big fan of this Nationals team. I don't know why. It kind of makes me mad that I like a lot of these NL East teams because I'm a Phillies fan. But the Nationals, they have this World Series win in 2019. Mike Rizzo, their GM or Pobo, I'm not sure which one he is. Mike Rizzo rebuilds this team, and it's going pretty well so far. You have to think you've got C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Dylan Cruz is coming up as well. I'm pretty sure I missed a couple of people in there as well. But the Nationals, their rebuild's going really well so far. I like this team to contend in the next few years, to be honest. Ryan?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think, what did Jake say? 70 wins as their
I
ceiling
said
and floor?
70, maybe tiny above, tiny below.
That sounds super pessimistic. This team is only trending in the right direction. You look at last year, and that's won 71 games, and that's with James Wood debuting in July. That's without really seeing Dylan Cruz. That's without Nathaniel Loud, who I think will be a huge boost to their offense. Not to mention Josh Bell is added, who can be like a league average hitter, who bats from both sides. So that's fine, I guess. And then the rotations only due to get better. You have Mackenzie Gore, who a lot of people think is poised for a breakout season. Jake Irvin, who's very young, and I think he might be poised for a breakout season as well. They signed Michael Soroka, who maybe we could see a resurgence from. They brought back Kyle Finnegan. It's just a ton of young players, and I think 70 wins is their absolute floor. I think realistically, they'll win around 80 games, maybe even more. I'd say their ceiling's around 85 wins, and their floor is maybe even higher than 70 games. I mean, they're not losing more than they lost last year. That's just not happening. This team is only going to go forward. They're probably trending in the right direction more than any other team in this division. So I love what the Nationals have going here.
Yeah, I got to agree with you.
Yeah, it's just a very complete team. So now we're going to go to awards. I'll go to you first, Samuel. We'll start with MVP. We'll do awards first.
Okay. My MVP for this division, as a Phillies fan, you probably know it's going to be. It's not an outrageous take to say that Bryce Harper is going to be the MVP of this division this year. He's consistently put up numbers ever since he came into the league. At 19 years old, he has not showed any signs of slowing down. Even though he did move to first base, he's still been a great hitter. No reason to believe he can't do it again this year and win the MVP for the NL East. Jake?
As much as I don't want to have a lot of bias, I do have to be a little biased here and go with Francisco Lindor to be my MVP. Plays great defense, great base runner, and has an even better bat. Francisco Lindor had an expected on base percentage of 379 last year with an expected slugging of 528. That is above 900 OPS. And Francisco Lindor is playing top-tier defense at the age of 31 with making great plays. He has the routine ones done pretty easily like any other shortstop. And Lindor is just one of a special player in this league due to the way that he's able to hit, field, and base run. I would say it would be a four-tool player without the speed aspect. And just I think that Lindor, he's poised for another 30-plus home run season. Could go 30 this year as he had 29 stolen bases last season. But I'm just expecting a lot out of Lindor, and I'm expecting him to carry this Mets team to 90-plus wins.
Yeah, I think that right there might be one of the worst takes we have heard on this podcast so far to date. You look at Francisco Lindor, the guy's 31. I'm not saying he's like getting super old. He is aging, obviously. He's still in his prime, but he's 31, and to be an MVP candidate like he was last year, he has to set another career high in OPS plus like he did last year. 138 OPS plus for him last year. That was a career high. He broke his previous career high of 132, which he set in 2018. And realistically, career norms for Lindor suggest that he'll have an OPS plus closer to 120, and that just puts you nowhere near Bryce Harper and Juan Soto. And I think his defense can make up for that a little bit because Soto's a weak defender in the outfield and Harper plays first base. But ultimately, to even be in the same range as those guys like Juan Soto and Bryce Harper, who we probably know are going to hit for an OPS plus of at least 145 at the bare minimum. Realistically, both of them may have a 160 OPS plus or better. And Lindor has to have an OPS plus of at least 135 or better. And I don't see him doing that again. I think last year was more of an outlier season. I love the defense. I love his floor, but taking this guy over Juan Soto is a little outrageous. I mean, I'm taking Juan Soto as my pick. Soto last year, a 988 OPS. Just to put that into perspective, Lindor's OPS was 844. So that's well over 100 points higher. Yes, the WAR isn't super high for Soto. I believe it was around the same as Lindor's, but this guy's just such a good hitter. I mean, I could keep going, but I don't really think I need to. A career OPS of 953. He's still only 26. He's entering his prime right now. 100th percentile or 99th percentile in several hitting stats on Baseball Savant. He was at least 65th percentile or better in every hitting category last season on 100th percentile batting run value. Yes, obviously I already said it. I'll say it again. The fielding does concern me. A -5 outs above average last year, and he's only going to get older. So he's not really going to improve in the field unless the Mets have like really good fielding coaches. But still, even though he's like a two-tool player, he does those two tools better than anyone in baseball. So he is the obvious pick for MVP right here.
All right. Yeah. Are we going to which one are we doing next?
We'll do Cy Young.
All right. My Cy Young Award winner. He's been Mr. Reliable for the Philadelphia Phillies for a while. He's been consistent. He's a really dang good pitcher. And they got him from the Mets, too. That's a bonus. Zach Wheeler is my Cy Young. Yeah, I know Jake like that. Zach Wheeler is my Cy Young.
He's my Cy Young also.
Okay, perfect. I guess I'll just speak for both of us, and you can chime in as well. Zach Wheeler, model of consistency pitcher. He's been really good the past 3 years. I mean, there's not really like a reason to pick against him, to be honest, about how consistent he's been. No one's really been able to figure him out too much either. Yeah, that's just a pick for me. I don't really see a reason to pick against him, to be honest. Jake?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I also have Zach Wheeler, and I hate to agree with everyone else. I want to make a good argument for someone else, but there really just isn't. The closest you have to Zach Wheeler for a contender for the Cy Young in this division is Sandy Alcantara, but I'm not going to pick him due to him almost 100% being traded at the trade deadline this year, and I just feel like if he doesn't pitch a full season in the division, he's not a true candidate to win Cy Young, and there's not much of a reason to pick against Zach Wheeler. I mean, the only argument against him is that he's 34. Maybe he starts to slow down this year, but he's coming off a career year last year, 200 innings, a 2.57 ERA. Could have won Cy Young last year if not for Chris Sale. I honestly think he might have had a better season than Chris Sale last year. That's definitely debatable. But he was right there with Sale, and yeah, there's not much else to say.
Yeah, is that the first clean sweep we've ever had for an award?
Yeah.
I'll just add to that. Zach Wheeler has, in my opinion, the second best fastball in baseball, only behind Paul Skeens. And his fastball run value was 100 percentile. His pitching run value was 100 percentile. He's got great off speed, and he had an under one WHIP last season. He had 200 plus strikeouts, 200 innings, and everything with Zach Wheeler seems perfect right now. And he also shut down the Mets twice in the postseason. And he pitched 7 scoreless innings in that game.
Don't bring that up.
if it wasn't for the bullpen, the Phillies would have most likely
come
won that
on.
game and then eventually won that series. Zach Wheeler is arguably a top 3 pitcher in baseball, and if he doesn't win the Cy Young in this division, I'd be shocked.
I think he is a top 3 pitcher in baseball. I don't think there's really any argument because he's been so good the past 3 years. But we'll save that discussion for a later date.
Yeah, I mean, it's Skeens and Schoolball, and then Wheeler's in the conversation for 3. There's definitely some other guys up there, like maybe one of the Dodgers aces, if depending on how they pitch. Like if
Tanner
Blake,
Bybee's up there.
if Blake Snell pitches a full season with top end stuff,
but I think Wheeler's the guy right now.
like he's been able to do in the second half, he could be up there.
Garrett Cole's up there still.
Garrett Cole is still up there. There's a lot of guys in the running for the top for the third spot. Zach Wheeler's definitely one of them.
Ryan, which one are we doing next?
Well, we have breakout and rookie of the year. I guess we can do breakout. I'll just start with my favorite player. It's Connor Norby for me. There are much stronger candidates, but you look at Connor Norby, still only 24 years old. He's coming off the first year where he saw consistent playing time. That came in the second half with the Marlins following the Trevor Rogers trade. 194 plate appearances last year. Like 95% of those were with the Marlins. A 732 OPS, 9 home runs. And I think the most encouraging thing about his profile is his barrel percentage. 14.8% barrel rate. That's higher than like really well-respected hitters like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like Fernando Tatis Jr. So he hits the ball very hard. And the only reason he hasn't been able to fully put it together yet is because of his strikeout problems, a 33% strikeout rate. That's right near the bottom of the league, and he's not walking enough to make up for that, a sub 10% walk rate. But if he just improves his swing and miss problem just a little bit, I think he instantly becomes a significantly above average hitter. And he also needs to improve at third, but I've heard he's been working all offseason to master third base. He had a -6 outs above average at third last year, but we'll see if he can't figure out at third. Maybe he can move to second, and that might be a more well-suited position for him. So I love Connor Norby to at least do what he's expected to do this year, which is have an OPS above 775 and be serviceable at third base, and then he's a really nice piece to this young core.
Yeah, Ryan, I respect the pick. Marlins bias had to come in somewhere, so I guess it makes sense. My breakout pick, finished 10th in Cy Young voting last year. I think he becomes a finalist this year. Give me Christopher Sanchez as my breakout player of the year. He's age 28 currently, pitching for the Phillies. He's going to finish 3rd in Cy Young voting this year, in my opinion, behind Zach Wheeler, his teammate. Christopher Sanchez was in the 100th percentile of off-speed run value. He had the best off-speed run value in baseball last year. It was his first season having started over 30 games, and he pitched great. Christopher Sanchez, in my opinion, can easily become this number 2 for the Phillies. The only thing that's a problem with him is, I think, strikeouts. He doesn't have a good – his whiff rate and K rate is below average. But that's about it. I think he's definitely got a chance to work on – he's had a chance to work on this in the offseason, and he's going to come back and become a great pitcher for the Phillies. He and Wheeler are going to become one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball. I predict they're going to become the best 1-2 punch in baseball. Ryan. Or Jake.
You guys both went with players from your favorite team, which I completely fine with. I want to pick Francisco Alvarez very badly, but instead I will be going with Brave starting pitcher Spencer Schwellenbach, like you mentioned earlier. Spencer Schwellenbach was amazing in the second half last year, had a 2.73 ERA in 13 starts, pitched 79 innings in the second half, and overall Schwellenbach had an incredible September as well. He had a 2.45 ERA in September last year. He was great against the Mets multiple times from the games I've watched. He had a 2.7 WAR and 123 innings, but a lot of that WAR came from the second half of last year. If he pitches just like that, I'm looking at a comparison here with Zach Wheeler. Wheeler had 6.1 WAR in 200 innings, 2.7 and 123 with an even better second half. If he could pitch just like that through the whole season, he could have a 5 to 5.5 plus WAR this season. And he started at 21 games. He had an ERA plus of 124 last year, 127 strikeouts. He is just a very, very good pitcher. And that was in his rookie year, to mention that as well. Has a great chase rate, great walk rate, and I expect him to be up there in like the top 10 Cy Young voting this year.
All right. I respect the pick. What are we doing last?
Now we have Rookie of the Year. I'll go to you first, Samuel.
I wonder, I don't know, we might all have 3 different players, but there's also a chance we all have the same player. My Rookie of the Year from the Washington Nationals is Dylan Cruz, second overall pick, I believe, in 2023. I think he's got a chance to break into that Nationals outfield. He's got a spot for him there. He has a chance to become a really good player and insert himself as a core part of this Washington Nationals rebuild. He's one of the players that they're counting on to really do this, and I think he's going to have a great rookie season and become the next great Nationals outfielder alongside James Wood. That's my Rookie of the Year pick.
All right, I'm going to go with Augustin Ramirez. Surprise, surprise. Augustin Ramirez, he came over from the Jazz trade for some context, and he has been one of the most consistent catchers in minor league baseball offensively. Over each of the past 3 years, he's OPS'd over 800 or better. He hits for a ton of average while also hitting the ball very hard. He hit a single over 115 miles per hour in spring training and a home run over 113 miles per hour. So I like what I've seen from him in both spring training and in those 2 months in the minor leagues where he hit for an OPS of 805 during his first taste of AAA while still being 22 years old, not turning 23 until mid-September. So, I just think if Ramirez can improve a little bit defensively and just become serviceable as a defensive catcher, he will easily be the best catcher in this division by 2026. And I think that if the Marlins call him up by late June, early July, he will win Rookie of the Year in this division. Probably not over Dylan Cruz or Andrew Painter or Brandon Sproat, but that's just my Marlins bias.
I'm going to go with a little bit of a biased pick here, and I'm going to pick Luis Angel Acuna. Acuna in the big leagues last year had over 300, had an over 160 OPS plus in a very small sample size, and had a 0.5 WAR in 39 at-bats, to say the least. Luis Angel Acuna, brother of Ronald Acuna Jr., very good player. He had 3 home runs in that 39 at-bat span. I'm just really excited for what he's able to do. He's 22 years old. He'll be 23 in a couple of days. And just overall, Acuna came over in the Max Scherzer deal to the Rangers in 2023. And he has a chance to jump to the 6, 7, 5 spot in the lineup this season and a chance to really help this Mets team make the playoffs and make a postseason run.
Good pick, Jake. All right, are we doing standings now?
Yeah, we'll do standings. I'll go real quick. I'll start off at number 1 with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think they're the most reliable team in this division with their pitching staff and with their offensive threats, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber. Alec Boehm can be a threat at times, and Bryce Harper, obviously. How can I forget? And it's still a decent bullpen, even though they lost some guys. They added Jordan Romano this offseason. So I'll go with the Phillies at 94 wins. And then my second place team is going to be the Atlanta Braves. I think their ceiling's pretty low, but I think they find a way to win 91 this year. And then in third place, I have the New York Mets underperforming a bit at 88 wins. They'll still sneak into the wild card, but that pitching rotation, especially with their recent injuries and lack of offseason moves to add to that rotation. All they did was Frankie Montas and didn't they add Jose Urania the other day, Jake?
No, they added Griffin Canning, Frank Montas, Clay Holmes.
They added someone just the other day, no?
Who?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they did add Jose Urena. You're
They
lying
had
to me.
Jose Urena.
Yeah,
That's a
they
great
did.
pickup. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, exactly. They haven't done much this offseason, and I don't see it with how bad that rotation is, and I feel like the offense is so top heavy, but the back end of that offense is sick. The 7, 8, 9 part of that offense is just not not on par with a 95 to 100 win team. So yeah, they're only winning 88 games this year. And then my fourth place team is going to be the Nationals. I have them at 82 wins, so right around 500. And
Okay.
then the Marlins will obviously be in last place. And I say they improve a bit from last year with Sandy being available for the first half and Yuri being available for the second half. So I'll go with. I think they'll get hot like in the middle of the season because they're a young team. So I'll say like 71 wins.
Yeah, my prediction is that if they get hot in the middle of the season, Ryan's going to say that they win the World Series at least 5 times. That's probably what will happen. My standings, I'm going to go 5-1. Marlins in last. I got them at 66 and 96. I hope that's
still an improvement. Still an improvement. I'll take
yeah.
it.
I hope that's not too bad. I hope I'm still respecting them. The Nationals, I have what?
That's actually respectful because I've heard people say that they're like losing more than 110 this year, and like no, they just have too much young talent to do that.
Okay. The Nationals in fourth, I have at 78 and 84. So that's respectful as well. In third place, I have the New York Mets at 90 and 72. Yes, third place at 90 wins. In a tie for first, the Phillies hold a tiebreaker over the Braves. Both of them will finish 94 and 68. I think it's going to be a great division race, and the Phillies come out on top on the final day of the season. Just how I have the Guardians doing that as well in the AL Central. If that happens, that would be pretty crazy. But I have them both going 94 and 68.
We were both both of us were in agreement for most segments on this pod. We had pretty much the same standings and the same Cy Young pick. So I'll go to you, Jake. I know you're probably going to roll off some really bad takes here, but
way to roll some bad takes. I first have the Marlins at 65 and 97. They've, like Ryan said, they have too much young talent to lose like 110 games. Second place, I got the Washington Nationals at 73 and 89.
Valentine.
I have the Atlanta Braves in third at 89 and 73. I just don't know what's going to happen with Strider and Acuna after coming off of injuries. Then I have the New York Mets at 92 and 70, and the Philadelphia Phillies leading the way at 97 and 65.
Mets 92 wins.
I was picking between 90 and 92 with the Mets.
They're not a 90 win team. They're like an 88, 87 win team. Like
okay, but that could easily turn into 90 if they get a bit lucky. So
I guess
you can say that that's what their talent's at right now, but they
their talent's at mid 80s, mid to high 80s. They're
okay,
not,
but like they could get lucky. They could also get unlucky.
I don't see it with just injuries.
All right.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like the injuries though, it's injuries more will happen to pitchers, and
yeah, and their rotation's terrible. If it gets even more
the
depleted,
rotation's not good. But like, those injuries won't affect them as much as they could affect like the Phillies or the Braves.
No, because I think the Phillies and Braves have way more rotation depth.
They've got better depth, but
yes,
but depending on like when the injury happens, how it happens, like you can't predict injuries.
No, you can't. But you already have Sean Manaea injured. Like,
all right,
Kodai's not trustworthy to stay healthy. I don't know.
Ryan, are you doing the draft doc, or do you want me to?